Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You're listening to First Fossil. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first fossil. Hello and welcome to First Fossil, a show where we learn together how to take that first fossil toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and today's episode is being recorded in my parents' closet in sunny California. I've been out here for a month, and it has been so nice getting to connect with my family out here. I did an episode, or I guess more of a talk, on the app called Wisdom. If you don't know about the Wisdom app, it's similar to Clubhouse, except that it records your talks on there automatically and puts them in files that you can label. And then if anyone wants to go back and listen to any of the talks that you've done, you can actually go on their profile and click on any talk that they've done. So this conversation I did a couple months ago when I was recording for a friend's podcast. And so I wanted to share it with you, and I will comment on it at the end. Here it is. Hello, guys. Oh my goodness. It has been a really long time since I've jumped on here, and I do apologize for that. I actually just wanted to jump on here super quick. I only have about 10 minutes to do this because I'm going to a church tonight to lead worship for their revival, and it's about an hour drive. So I was just in the middle of finishing recording for one of my newer podcast friends' podcast. If you don't know the podcast, Your Motivational High Five, it's been around for years, and the host of that show is Phil Larson. When I made the transition to step out of my 9 to 5 and become a entrepreneur, I decided right before that to email people that I really looked up to and ask them for advice on what they do to do what they do so well. Phil Larson was one of those people. He was the first podcaster that I ever consistently listened to way back in the day, and I didn't realize that I would eventually have my own podcast listening to him. But he's been an inspiration to me, and he's basically become a friend just from the email exchanges that we've had, and he asked me to be on his show. So I just sent him what I was going to talk about, and I wanted to quickly talk with you guys about it. So he asked me to pick a word that I've been learning about or marinating in for a bit of time in more recent time. And I had to sit and think about it because I feel like there's a ton of words that I've been sitting in. And I decided to go with the word transition. So what I had shared with him was that the last 2 years of my life, I have been in a season of transition on both a professional front as well as a personal one. So professionally, I went from being a practicing pharmacist. I got licensed right before my birthday at the top of 2020. And I started working as a pharmacist last summer. Simultaneously, I was halfway through my master's in public health at George Washington University in DC. And I was starting my own podcast, First Fossil. And I was doing this on the side as a stepping stone to showcase who I am to the world, how I think, how I process the world around me. And I wanted to do this in a more holistic fashion. So I went the podcasting route. Now, on a personal level, from the top of 2020, I entered into a season of fasting and praying, and I went on this chain breaking season with God to be redeemed, restored, and rejuvenated in Christ Jesus to become exactly who He had called me to be. Now, the further into all of this that I became, I realized that the longer I was in my job, the less fulfilling it actually was to do it. While the more podcast episodes I was doing, the more fulfilled I felt. And what was my side hustle very quickly started to drive me like my 9 to 5 used to. And it completely overshadowed the passion I'd had for being in the pharmacy. So basically, my podcast turned into these exponential opportunities to speak publicly, from speaking for universities and for professional programs and their student organizations. I ended up being a guest on radio. I was hosting a major Christian conference. I became a keynote speaker for a nonprofit for parents, and I'm not a parent. So that was so wild. I was guest lecturing for professional schools, and I even ended up on international TV to have a TV appearance to talk about COVID from a pharmacist and public health view. So all these doors were just flying open. And the more that the doors opened for me to speak publicly, and these were doors that I wasn't even asking to walk through. I wasn't calling people and say, hey, you want to book me? No, like these people were finding me and they were asking me to walk through these doors. They were opening to me. And I was just in the back of my pharmacy in my little office, not seeing a soul. I called my patients all day over the phone and I was like, Lord, where these people are finding me? I realized that most of those that approached me to walk through these doors, many of them were due to connection through my podcast. So the more that these doors were opening for me to speak, the fuller my spirit was becoming, and the more humbled and grateful I was to have these opportunities. So the closer I got to wrapping up my master's this summer and ending my educational career, the very, very, very long one, I realized I was sensing this tension that I had never experienced before. And it was a tension between what I was currently doing with my life and what I felt like life was guiding me to do and how I was to show up in the world. Even the ideas I thought I had pertaining to my professional career, it quickly evolved in a direction I hadn't even thought of, never considered, never was even drawn to. And yet my life, my mind, everything was just shifting. And I realized I needed to repurpose my educational knowledge in a completely different way. And that tension between what I was supposed to be doing with my life and when I say supposed to, I mean, you do the 9 to 5 until you die. Like, kind of, it was that you go to school, you get your career, you do it till you retire, you die, and that's your life. Like that supposed to, the tension between that and what society tells you you're supposed to do and what I desired to do, what I felt led to do, what I felt called to do, actually led me to max out every single minute of my PTO. And I was saying yes to so many incredible opportunities and it was fueling me. I was on cloud 74, living my best life. Next thing I know, after praying and fasting for 90 days, no, I planned to pray and fast for 30 days for God to guide me in 90 days on how to leave my job. And yet he said, haha, you're not leaving in 90 days, you're leaving in 30 days. So pack up, girl, we got to go. And next thing I know, I'm packing up my office. I'm heading home on August 23rd of this year. And I'm stepping into this season where my side hustle is now my entrepreneurial venture as a public speaker, a life coach, and a podcaster, while my 9 to 5 has basically turned into a side hustle that I do every once in a while just to supplement funding while I'm growing my business. And so it currently feels like I'm starting all the way over, and yet it also feels like I've been doing this my entire life. Technically, I would say it's both, because I've realized recently that unknowingly, I have been in intentional preparation, led by God for this very season, most of my life. But the timing of both the revelation of this transition and when to move into this transition, both of those were key in me being where I am today. And so this transition from a career that was narrowly mapped out for me into a world of possibilities and creativity, and technically an unknown, it's taught me one really key lesson: that had I not gone on my redemption journey, had I not been healed in myself from the shackles that bound me in who I thought I was, who I perceived myself to be, and who I thought the world saw me to be, had I not been healed last year in that journey, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I would not have had the confidence to lean into the call to be in this season of transition into what is technically my unknown, that I'm absolutely comfortable with and feel prepared to embark on. So being healed, embracing my wholeness, unlocking my purpose, and walking in the freedom of being authentically me has made what others would deem petrifying. And trust me, enough people have told me they think this transition of my life is scary and crazy. My crazy faith has made this journey exciting and peaceful. And I'm loving living in the paradox of both. So I encourage you to embrace your seasons of transition, whatever those may be, however they show up. Embrace it, because transition matures and grows you. And as long as you're taking the lessons, no matter whether it's from a positive experience, a negative experience, whether it's good, it's bad, it's ugly, it's hideous, and it's fantastic, darling. Look, transition and learning the lessons within, man, you can't go wrong with any move you make, knowing that you can grasp and carry lessons throughout. You'll grow, you'll evolve, and you'll become exactly who you were created to be. Wow. It is really cool to listen back on that episode and thinking on how I was at that time and thinking of where I am now, half of my transition out, and I'm still thinking, I'm still processing, I'm still soaking in each aspect of the decision that I made on August 23rd to leave my job that day, knowing that I would never go back. It is so interesting to be shifted and see how God often puts us on a path for reasons that we might think we understand. And then he's like, psych, shift. And He has the coolest plans for us. And I know a lot of people are still trying to process where they are in life and trying to figure out, why am I here? What am I doing? What is my purpose? What is the point of me doing what I'm doing right now? Is it worth it? And those are all valid questions to ask. Everyone should be asking themselves those questions. I still am. And I'm okay with not knowing every single detail of this transition season. But what I have in front of me is enough to keep moving forward, to keep pressing on. And I want to encourage all of you guys to do that, no matter what season of life you're in, no matter what you are trying to figure out. What I hope for you is that you take everything as an opportunity to learn, as an opportunity to grow, to be stretched, to be molded, to be transformed in your transition, to be a better person, to be a better version of yourself, to be a version of yourself that you never thought possible, or that you secretly hoped possible but weren't sure if it was even allowed or attainable. And so these last couple weeks of 2021, take some time to really process where you are, process where you want to be, process whether or not where you are is where you need to be right now. Take some time to talk to God about it. Talk to your loved ones, your mentors, your friends, people that really shift your life and can speak to you in a way that's direct, but in love, because you don't want anyone to tell you something that isn't out of love and that is misguided or is for your detriment. Find people that you really truly love. And if you don't have those people, reach out to me, message me. We can have a conversation. We can talk about it. We can even pray together about it. But we can each help each other with sitting in these spaces and figuring out where next. What is my next step? And even if you're in a season of, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to try to move. I'm going to try to move with where I think I'm supposed to be moving in good faith that the world, that God will guide me in what I have in front of me and how I'm processing it. So don't be afraid of the season of transition. Don't be afraid of that space. I'm still talking to myself. When I say that, I'm not just speaking to you, I'm also speaking to me. It's okay to be in a season of transition. It's okay to be a little nervous. My brother, Kevin from Pentatonics, he actually just had a conversation with his bandmate, Matt Sallee, and the gospel artist, Jonathan Reynolds. And Kevin had mentioned on there that if your purpose doesn't scare you a little bit, then it's probably not your purpose. Like, it's something that should really challenge you. And so I'm not going to lie. I have enough fear in me that's actually propelling me to be curious enough to see what's on the other side of that fear. It's not hindering me. It's not holding me back, but it feels like the gasoline that I needed, or the charging station. If you're Tesla lovers, hello, somebody, save the planet. But I'm sitting in this space of saying I am a little nervous because I don't have all the blueprint. But like I've said before, that little bit of fear, that little bit of nervousness with the total peace. This is the thing. I have total peace and I have total faith. And I'm a little nervous. I'm a little scared. But I'm moving. And I'm sitting and I'm processing. And then I'm moving a little more. I encourage all of you to experience moments like that. Don't be afraid so much that it actually holds you back. But allow that moment that makes you pee a little bit in your pants to propel you forward in your seasons of transition. Anyway, that's today's episode. And if you guys have any questions, any comments, any topics that you want discussed here, you can always reach out to me on social media at First Bustle or at Candice Olushala. and that's on all social media platforms. You can also go on my website, www.firstpaso.com. You can also become one of my Patreons, my First Pasitos, and that's also on my website. If you also want someone to do a guest speaking talk or something that you're interested in, whether it's a conference, a Bible study group, a school, an organization, whatever, I'm doing talks, and I love going out there and being able to talk to different groups of people for a variety of reasons, which you can also find on my website. And if you're looking for a coach, I will be starting group coaching in 2022, and I still have spaces for one-on-one coaching. So feel free to hit me up. Shoot me a text, 859-800-3396. Email me, reach out on my website, however you want to contact me, and I would love to hear from you guys. Love you guys so much. Stay safe, and we'll talk soon. Bye.